विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। Loving salam, everyone. Over to you, sis.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us again, once again, on this Sai Anveshana journey. It has brought loads of us together from centres, regions across the UK, some abroad as well, and we've been united by this shared yearning to understand and live by Swami's teachings more deeply. So over the past several months, we've had the privilege of exploring Swami's divine guidance through the Vahinis, diving into their wisdom, engaging in meaningful satsangs, and reflecting together on how these bring teachings into our daily lives. So I truly hope that this journey has been enriching, not just intellectually, but spiritually and personally as well. So we're here at the final leg of our journey, the third and final book in our chosen series, the Bhagavatha Vahini. And it's a powerful and fitting conclusion to our exploration, right? This sacred text is not just a retelling of Krishna's life, but a deep spiritual map rich with lessons on dharma, devotion, surrender, and divine love. So I just want to take a moment to acknowledge what it is to be here today, because we have so much going on, especially this centenary year for all of us. We have loads of events that we're all planning, loads of seva that we're doing, loads of things that are pulling our attention in our lives in different directions. So making that conscious effort, choose to be here today, and to be choosing to read Swami's literature as well, to reflect and to come here for satsang, that is also a true act of sadhana. So I want to congratulate each of you for being here and also making this effort and allowing this journey to shape you. Today's session is going to be very special. We are blessed to have with us a distinguished guest speaker who will be guiding us through the chapters 19 to roughly 37 on the Bhagavatha Vahini. We're exploring themes and the profound messages in these episodes of the life of Lord Krishna. Our speaker today is someone who brings deep insight, clarity, and warmth to their explanations of Swami, and I'm delighted to introduce them to you in a moment. So, please join me in welcoming Brother Karthik, who I'm sure many of you will recognise as a familiar face from the Central London Sai Centre in Region 3. Brother Karthik completed his bachelor's and master's degree in mathematics from Swami's Institute from 1998 to 2003, and then a further master's in computer science in 2005. So it is a pleasure to be hearing from him today in our session. And before I pass on to Brother Karthik, I'd like to remind you all that it will be great to see you. So it'll be great to have your cameras on. And if you have any questions, please do message us in the chat. But I'm sure Brother Karthik will explain in a second. So without further ado, welcome Brother Karthik. Jai Sai Ram.
Saram, everyone. I offer my humble pranams at Bhagawan's lotus feet, and a good afternoon to everyone, all our Sai brothers and sisters in the UK and elsewhere. I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity, not because I am here to share my views, but it's an opportunity for me to go through Swami's books, an excuse to do so. As Sister mentioned, we have varying levels of distractions in our life, and it definitely takes effort to take our time and attention away from all of that and consciously focus it on something important and sacred in our lives, like Bhagwan's message. And this is one such opportunity for me, and I'm thankful for the organizers for this. Just as Sister mentioned, if you have any questions, just post it on the chat, and one of our sisters will pick it up and will flag it right in the middle of the talk. Rather, it'll make the whole session more interactive that way, rather than wait to the end of it. I'd start off by saying a disclaimer: I am in no way an expert, and none of what I am speaking are my own views. I wouldn't just a speaker box for Swami's message, and that's all should be my importance. It's just the message that is to be focused on, that is of importance, and anything apart from the message is inconsequential. And if I make any mistakes, please forgive me. I do not intend to come snobbish or anything. This is a very great text. It's a very quixotic text, because Bhagavata Vahini, Bhagavatam is basically the story of the Lord. And as a previous speaker who spoke about, my brother who spoke about Bhagavatam, explained that when Sage Vyasa had spent a great deal of time and effort in categorizing the four Vedas and the Puranas and the many sacred texts that the Sanatana Dharma is based on. Once he's created all of that, it's a superhuman task he accomplished. Um, Even reading those texts or understanding those texts would allow you to evolve. But someone who has understood it and has categorized it, who has played a pivotal role in making those texts available for all of humanity, is so much more advanced and evolved soul. Such a soul as Sage Vyasa himself found himself to be in a quandary. He found himself to be unsatisfied. And is at that stage when Lord Narada descends and gives Vyasa the panacea for his problems. He says that you've done a lot of work, but what's required is for you to connect with the Lord. You need to write a text where you can humanize and you can connect to the Lord in devotion. And in that is a message for all of us. We could do anything in our lives, whatever we do, it's fine, but it's very important for us to connect to Lord. And this is one text that it highlights the importance of connecting to Swami. The whole text is humanizing God and making this relationship between us humans and God special. And it's quixotic in the fact that Swami has written it. Swami, the Lord himself, who has much bigger a Bhagavatam, which we hear through various channels today, via the radio side, via Instagram, via TikTok. So many channels and so many people speak about the miracles and experiences of Swami. It's endless. As a very nice poem in our scriptures is there. Even if we convert all the trees in the world into a pen and all the seas and all the rivers in the world into the ink and all of the world into a sheet of paper, it wouldn't suffice to write of his glory. And that's exactly what it is when it comes to Swami. We see that every day we hear of a new experience. We might have actually spoken to devotees, we might have interacted with people all our lives, and yet we come across and hear new stories of Swami. It's endless. And that's how much Swami has made himself available in this earthly sojourn. It's a very, so in this regard, Bhagavata Vahini is a way for us to understand why stories of Swami, why experiences of Swami is important. While we actually read Bhagavata Vahini, we can see a one-to-one translation and understanding of Swami's life himself. Just as how Lord Krishna makes himself available and dear to the Pandavas and Parikshit, so does Swami makes himself dear to each one of us who are his so-called contemporaries. Very, very great, good fortune it is for us. It's very interesting that in this section, um, the main message that we get is Sage Sukha, who is born realized. He talks about why it is important to connect to God. How do we connect to God? And then he actually helps Parikshit, who has limited time to connect to God. Parikshit is an example of our current existing states. We have limited time on our hand. And how do we best invest this time to get the most out of it? Right? If you take our time, our attention span, our resources as currency, if we have to invest this currency into something that is going to give us the best returns, it'll help us see things in a more black and white. Right? We have so many different sources of distraction. You have TikTok, you have wars, you have news, you have influences, you have so many events happening, so many things to grab our attention and our interest. And as youngsters and as people who are part of the community, part of the society, we are constantly worried about how the world perceives us. How do I make myself special so that the world appreciates me or admires me? How do I make myself more important? We lose sleep. We spend all our time actually saying, how do I become more special at my job? How do I become more, how do I stand out in everything in my life? While completely ignoring what our true purpose is. As Sage Sukha explains, if you have limited time, I mean, you don't have to wait for a snake to bite us, and we don't have to wait for 7 days only to be destined for us. If we have limited time, that time is best served us if we invest it in thinking of our Lord. Now, we might say it's impractical for us today to think of Swami 24 hours. How do I start? Is it even practical? What about my life? What about my space in my family, in my society? What do I do? Do I be a recluse? That's where it's very interesting. So Sage Sukha says it's very interesting when you read these chapters, not just this part from the start to the end of this book. Where do we start? We start to connect to Swami. It doesn't happen on day one that you completely cut your ties everywhere else. As in the start of the Bhagavatha Vahini, very nicely, the previous speaker also alluded to this, that you develop a taste like how a child develop a taste for solid food from milk, right? So you develop a taste to connect with Swami. You start by actually listening to episodes. You start by actually connecting, reading a little bit of Swami's text. You start by reflecting what Swami means to you, why Swami is important to you. How do you actually integrate Swami in a more human way in a daily life? Right? It's very easy. Like I only think of Swami when I go and sit for bhajans 2 hours in a week, and the rest of my days is completely filled with other stuff. Right? Why should we compartmentalize our life in that way? Why can't Swami be a part of all my angst in my job, in my aspirations for shining in this and that? Why don't I involve Swami? Why don't I share my joys and sorrows and anguishes and disappointments or even successes with Swami? Why don't I bring him along in every facet of my life? It's as simple as that. If we think of Swami as this invisible friend of ours who is always besides us, who is always patiently listening to ear, it's a start. We don't have to be Sage Sukha or King Parikshit or or any other realized soul. We start with as something as mundane as that. And as Sage Sukha also says that God is waiting for the chance when you will turn to him. This is I'm very thankful that I got this the second part of the Bhagavatami. It's a very, very powerful part in my opinion. Um, Swami, if you in many of Swami's discourse, Swami is in at length spoken about the Pandavas. They are a great group of people. If the Lord has to come down on earth and spend hours talking about the glory of a group of people, then how fortunate they are. They were so close to him in the previous avatar that even to this day, Swami always spoke about Pandavas and their glory and how they stood for dharma. And the beauty of Pandavas is that they are so worthy of emulation. They went through so many different things in their life. They were kings and queens. And despite all that they went through, they always placed Krishna in the center of their lives. Whatever they went through, they attributed it to Lord Krishna. They offered it to Krishna. Whether it is success, whether it was failure, whatever it is, they attributed it to Lord Krishna. And it is remarkable how Krishna responds to them. And that's what is detailed in the last few sections. In fact, chapter 19 starts with how the Pandavas lose in the game of dice. They've been tricked. Before that, they have been sent off into the forest, right? And in the previous stage in the forest. That's where Arjuna gets married to brings Draupadi, and eventually Draupadi is married to the Panch Pandavas. And they're back in the palace. They have their magical palace. The Kauravas are humiliated, and then the Kauravas want to take revenge, and that's how the game of dice comes about. And at the game of dice, right, the Pandavas lose via trickery, and then Draupadi is dragged into the assembly, an assembly that actually venerated her. And suddenly, in the midst of all the grand seers and sages, she is humiliated. She is the Shashana, who is looked down upon, a filthy person, attempts to dishonor her. It's a very dramatic situation when a queen, who is a divine queen who is going through so much in life, and now suddenly she's at the helm of her life. Everything is going fine. Suddenly, from such a state, she suddenly falls in grace. She comes to the assembly, and in front of everybody, her husbands are sitting there, the elders are sitting there, and nobody is able to step up to her help. She cries in anguish while her dignity is at stake. Everybody who are stalwarts who could have actually waged a war single-handedly are helpless. Their hands are tied. And who does she finally turns to? She calls her to her husbands. She asks them, "Is this right?" She asks the sages and seers, the uncles, the granduncles, the grandfathers, and everybody. She asks every one of them in the assembly, "Is this right? What you're witnessing, and why aren't you doing anything about it?" And nobody is able to step up to support her. And in utter anguish and at loss, she calls out to Krishna. And then Krishna steps in the most dramatic ways. Actually, he steps in, he throws to the wind all the laws of the five elements. He steps in a magical way. He allows her a garment to grow inexhaustibly to a point where the Shashana is utterly exhausted, just attempting to dishonor her. Like when is a classic example, right? When the devotee when a devotee calls out when a, what it's is a classic example for us. Oftentimes we try in our ignorance to do things that we think are right. We don't involve Swami right at front. Only when we have exhausted all our means, all our efforts, do we realize, oh God, I have no other end to turn to, and I turn to Swami. It's always an afterthought. And this is exactly an example of that, how it is. But even at that stage, even if we put Swami towards the end, he will always show up. Right? Swami never fails. Lord Krishna never failed the Pandavas. Whatever they went through, he was always there for them. That's why later in the later parts, you will see always Pandavas put Krishna first. Whatever happens to them, the good or the bad, in the chapters you see, they always say, "Oh, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna." And it's a lesson for us. Don't wait till you exhaust all your means. Turn to Swami right away, and Swami will guide you in innumerable fashions. Right? He will step up himself. He will send the right person. He will make the situation turn around for you, whatever it is. And this incident actually reminds me of this classical and very, very popular concept in Sai devotees. I don't know whether you've heard. This is not to scare anybody, but it's important that we know about this. It's been spoken about in Radio Sai and various other interviews as well. Back in the olden days when Swami was giving darshan, he was walking through the crowds, and he came upon this elderly devotee who is known as Pedda, and I think so. And he was speaking to her, and towards the end of the conversation, Swami asks her, "What do you want?" And she says, "Swami, I don't want anything. I just want your grace." And then it's a oftentimes we say things because it's a very methodical way of saying it, right? Oh, I surrender to Swami. Swami, you're everything. Oh, we don't know the true import of that, but we say that, right? And so this devotee said, "I don't want anything." Probably she is a realized soul. She said, "Swami, I want only your grace." And Swami took this opportunity. Then he turned, "You don't want anything, only my grace?" The way it turned, like I said, the grace was just an ordinary thing in relation to all the glories and the wealth and that someone could ask, right? Then Swami says, the grace is the most difficult thing that you could have asked for. And in order for my grace, are you willing to pass through the three zeros? And here is a classic example what happened in in Draupadi's life, in Pandava's life. The three zeros that Swami narrates is first, you might lose all your wealth, all your greatness, all your grandeur, all your wealth you might lose. And if you still believe in me and if you still love me. Second, you might lose all your kith and kin, all your friends and family and relatives whom you deem important might leave you and might not come near you. If you still believe and love me. Last, you might lose your self-respect, you might lose your dignity, you might lose your honor, your standing in society. And if you still love me and you give me importance, then you are fit enough to be the recipient of my grace. And this is what Draupadi went through. A queen who is at the helm of her life in the grand palace of Indraprastha, Suddenly she is brought down in an instant from the inner quarters down in front of all the men in the assembly and dishonored, right? And then sent to the forest, devoid of all her belongings. And then, despite all of that, she gives importance to Lord Krishna. And so, and at that instant, she becomes the most worthy person for the Lord's grace. And instantly, Lord's grace flows unending. Right? This is is a great example for us. It's not to say that all of us must go through that, right? Eh, all of our scriptures stand as like brilliant examples for us to take lessons and imbibe that into our own life in our own way, or even attempt at it. I saw a question come up. Is it?
No, no question. Oh.
Yes. So there is a question. So why was Draupadi chosen to couldn't could have chosen a different character or a different path to establish dharma? And why did it have to be her?
So, sorry, could you repeat? I think you got cut a little bit. If you
Sorry. Okay. So the question is, why was Draupadi chosen to undergo such intense suffering and humiliation in Mahabharata? Couldn't God have chosen a different character or a different path to establish dharma? Why did it have to be her?
It's a
And
yeah, it's a good question. So Swami, if you've seen Swami's discourse, Swami deems Draupadi as the best woman in creation. She is described as a perfect woman. So in almost every single Women's Day, every year, Swami will talk about Draupadi. Draupadi is so important for Swami. She was born out of the fire. She was supposed to be married to Lord Krishna, but eventually Lord Krishna convinced her that she's more like her sister, and she's meant to play a very special role as the Pandavas. Right? They were. It gives us a message that it's not always a bed of roses. Right? Life is never a bed of roses. If the Pandavas remain like kings and queens and they had a very smooth life, we wouldn't have a scripture. We wouldn't have something that we could relate to. It's very simple. Like when you see somebody up there who's got lots of chances with Swami, and then you say, okay, oh, I am so sad. I'm far off. I haven't got the same opportunity somebody who's close to Swami has got, right? Because we don't know the difficulty that person has gone through, what karmas they've gone through to be there, right? It's very difficult for us to relate to. If we do see Pandavas and Draupadi as kings and queens or divine personages and who have not gone through any difficulty in life, none of what they go through there's no lessons that we could relate to, right? So Swami has chosen people who are so close to him in the Krishna avatar, put them through whatever difficulties they go through, and despite all the difficulties, stay true to Lord Krishna. And that is an example for us. Not that all of us should go through similar difficulties in life, but whatever difficulties or tribulations we go through in life, each one of those will be like that will be tantamount to the most important thing in our life, right? Each one of us is a center of our universe. If for example, if my job goes, that is going to be devastating for me. It might not mean anything to the neighboring person, right? You'll say, so many people are losing their jobs, so what is the big deal about it? But for me, it's my whole universe comes crashing down, right? So how do each one of us handle these messages? How do I imbibe these messages? How do we how do I see Swami? How do I see Swami the same way that Draupadi saw Lord Krishna? She's gone through difficulties, which is like nowhere in comparison to what I've gone through. Right? I'm not pulled in front of a stage. I'm not dishonored the way she's dishonored. I've not lost my family and my relatives, my honor. But at a smaller level, when I go through difficulties, do I find it hard to call upon my Lord? Do I find it hard to fall upon Him as my sole refuge? Right. These are lessons. These are the way in which we can read the scriptures and relate to it. And that's why, whether it be Mother Sita who was sent to the forest and was made to go through the fire, or be it Draupadi who's put through these difficulties, or any other great personalities in any of these, they're all made to go through trials and tribulations. Even Swami in his childhood goes through all the trials and tribulations of poverty that he went through, right? All to actually get us lessons that we can make use of in this life. This is my understanding.
Thank you so much.
So it's these 3 years are not to scare us, but it's something for us to think about, right? Um, nothing what we something like a relationship with Swami, something as important as Swami in our lives, and his love and grace is in no way secondary or trivial to other achievements or luxuries in our life, right? If I want a good job, if I want, say, a larger home or a larger car or whatever it is I'm seeking, right? Or if I want to have like 100,000 followers on Instagram as an influencer, how much I work towards it, how much sleep I lose on it, right? How much of effort I put into it. And in comparison, how much effort do I put into winning the grace of Lord, winning the love of our Swami? Swami shouldn't just be a little picture sitting on my altar. Shouldn't just be something that I actually think about once a week, right? It needs to slowly consume our lives. He needs to be something that's so important that everything else becomes secondary. It need not be that I go into the world and say, I don't care about my job, I don't care about anybody around me, I am spiritual, I only worry about Swami. No, nobody has to know that Swami is the most important thing in your life, right? So the Pandavas continued to actually rule their kingdoms as just kings, continued to continue to do all the duties that was expected of them, and yet Krishna was central to their life. And this is how we need to live our lives as well. Swami needs to be central to our life. Everything that we do must be based on what Swami likes, how Swami would have preferred it to be, and then we execute whatever duties we need to execute, whatever interactions we need to get into in this life. But whatever we do, the background and importance must be Swami.
We've got
Everybody-
another
message.
question.
There's one more question. Sorry, there's one more question in the chat box. If we are not going through any of these difficulties, is that means we are not close to God?
I think it's contrary. One of the most difficult thing in this time and age is that is a sense of indifference and a sense of boredom, right? If we don't have dramatism in our life, we feel we need to look for it elsewhere. Um, it causes different problems for us. We seek problems. We seek something dramatic. But this is the biggest problem we have. How do we stay connected? It's very difficult for us as unrealized people or unevolved people. I mean, so not in the evolved in the sense we're not God realized people, right? So not being God realized people, how do I stay connected to Swami 24 hours? Is it even possible? Do I always? So it's a classic example. Even a great personage like Mother Kunti, right? When Krishna came and asked her, "What do you want?" After all the war finished, Kunti said, "Oh Krishna, I can only think of you in times of problems. So please give me more problems." So great was she. She asked Krishna's. So I don't think we have the courage to ask Swami, Swami, keep giving us problems, so we keep thinking about you. What is important is how do we say, how do we make sense of our lives? How do we involve Swami into our day-to-day life in different aspects of our life? Why should we wait for some dramatic events to happen? Either it is be it either sorrow or be it heights of joy. Why do we wait for those ups and downs to happen? How do I involve Swami and include Swami into my day-to-day life? How do I embed him and make him central to my life on a normal day when everything goes fine, or I don't have to wait for some great news or bad news to happen? This is one of the major challenges we have. Every time you listen to an experience, the experience is always about a great event that's happened, either a sickness that is cured or a miracle that has happened. We never hear about how Swami played an important role in a very boring day in my life. This is very important because if majority of our days is quite boring and normal and mundane, and if we crack how we can involve and make Swami central in our day-to-day life, then Swami is central to our life in the majority of the days, not just on the days of events, which is of great importance to us. Right? So definitely, we are no way further away from God or closer to God based on how dramatic or how non-dramatic our life is. That's what I would say. This is my personal opinion. So going back to the three zeros, it again goes back the three zeros and everything else will ask us the same question, right? Why should we actually worry about Swami? Why should we make him central in our life? What is the need for it? Right? Why can't Swami be a fallback? Because imagine in our normal life, right? We go through life. We have so many things that's more important, and we want Swami to be just an insurance, just to make sure things don't go too bad, right? Many a times we think like this comes through in the kind of life we lead. Right? We don't we think about investing time in Swami. We think about reading too much of Swami's message or whatever it is. We think about involving ourselves excessively in Swami's work because we say this much is enough, this much effort and time is enough for Swami's work or enough for Swami's time. This is very popular in the way we think because we live in a time where we're constantly impinged by influences. So in one of the chapters, I think in chapter 29 or something, Sage Sukha explains that our 10 senses are designed in such a fashion that when we hear a noise, our, e- our the external noise hits our eardrum, and then our eyes is forced to listen to the ear, is influenced by the sound we listen, and we turn around and look at the noise. And then all our senses are forced to go in the same direction of those distractions to give it all the time and energy and resources that we have towards that distraction. That's one distraction. We live in a age where it's just filled with distractions. I can sit here and I see a video of what's happening in Gaza, what's happening in Ukraine, what's happening with Keir Starmer in the government, and every event calls me to take a stance and feel strongly about it. Every one of those interactions asks me for my attention and for my time. The tech companies design their social media platforms for it. The influencers on all these platforms design their videos and reels for it. There's a demand on my attention. It's a demand on my resource and time, right? And I willingly give it. I scroll through different things and I willingly dissipate all my attention, all my currency instead of safeguarding it and investing it in things that will actually will give me the best return, the highest return. I very freely discard it, throw it around, and get lost in the distraction we have. As if you think of ourselves as little kids who seek pleasure in a bar of chocolate, or on a candy, right? A kid will always go after more and more candy until he falls sick. Now, if you compare ourselves to that, if we keep doing this, if we keep throwing our attention and time on things that are grabbing our interest, we are like this kid who's going after the candy until we fall sick, and we say, okay, what did I do wrong? Instead of going to that extreme and then figuring out what we are doing wrong, we need to question ourselves much in advance. Swami often says in his discourses, it's a sad fact that we go through life in a way that we, as a youngster in the prime of our lives, we give our time, energy, resources to everything else that is non-godly. And when it comes to the ripe old age, to the horizon of our lives, when you look back and we regret, said, "Oh God, I've spent all my times, I've squandered it all away, and here it is. Here's the remaining part. I'll invest in you in the form of or visiting temples or japa, meditation, whatever it is. In an infirm age when I can't even sit straight, I want to invest it in God." And Swami says, what sad plight of humanity. You serve a massive feast, you invite all the ruffians and rogues to come and have a go at it. And once they've had their fill, then you offer the remains to God. And then we say, Swami is very important to me. Swami is my life. Swami is my. So it's important that we ask, what do you mean when you say Swami is central to my life? The reality is, the purpose of all our life, as Sage Sukha explains, is is to realize that we need to get back to God. The faster we realize it, the better it is for us. We are given the capabilities, the resources, the wherewithal to achieve this. But if you miss this boat, then you're given another chance and you go through the cycle again and again and again. But as Sai devotees, we are very, very fortunate. Oftentimes, when we have sat next to Swami, Swami will turn around and ask, there are lots of people who sit close to Swami. Swami will say, you think your past karmas have won you the merit to sit close to me and talk to me or see me and interact with me? And then he'll answer it himself. He says, no amount of karma, good karma or punya can earn you this grace. No amount of great act of sacrifice would have given you this great good fortune of interacting with me. You might have spent lifetimes at it, it wouldn't suffice. It is purely my grace by which you are afforded this good fortune of sitting and interacting or even coming to know of Swami. We read about characters in this Bhagavatha Vahini, but if we reflect, we are ourselves contemporary of God in flesh and blood. And it is not by chance, it is purely by His grace. Of the billions of people who are born on this earth, it's a very few handful who come to know of Swami. And of this few who come to know of Swami, it's an even smaller ratio who take Swami to be God or a divine being. So it's important that we recognize the kind of good fortune that we have been blessed with. Each one of us must have done something right in our past life for God to bless us. It's an extremely fortunate situation we are in. If we let this dissipate, if we just squander it off or just ignore it and wait to the fag end of our life, it's a really sad state. We have let go of a golden opportunity. We don't know in the next lifetime what state, what condition we would be, who we would be, what are the influences we will be born in. So here is an opportunity. Here we are contemporaries of the Lord, just as all the characters in this, as Parikshit was, we are in a very similar state. So Parikshit is in a unique situation where he is given this time that he has 7 days to live, and because of which he decides to focus all his thoughts and energies on the thought of God. We're in a very similar situation. We might not know the exact end date for us, but we still have only limited resource, and we can begin to analyze and understand how best can we invest this time and energy to get the maximum out of it. Right. What's very important in this is when we say we love Swami, we want to think of Swami, and how do we connect to Swami? Sage Sukha, Swami very nicely writes in the chapter 31. I'd like to read this. It's from Bhagavatami itself. So in the conversation, Parikshit asks, what is the meaning and the value of tapas? And Sage Sukha, he says, son, tapas means discipline, spiritual exercise or sadhana. It is through tapas that the great process of creation, preservation, and destruction happens. Tapas is a cause for the realization of the self. That is to say, when the mind, intellect, and the senses are subject to tapas, or the crucible of disciplinary exercise, the self will stand revealed. I tell you about this technique of tapas. So this is essentially what it means is it's not sufficient if you just say, I love Swami, right? We need to put in some effort to connect to him. Whatever that effect is, whatever that's close to us. Either we sing bhajans, or either we do meditation, or either we read his text, whatever it is. We need to put concerted effort in it. We need to find time. We need to allocate that effort. We need to sit and do that activity. And we need to make that a regular habit, a part of our routine, and connect to Swami. And very clearly, Sukha says, tapas is a cause for liberation. So in a Hindu sect, when they say a cause, when something is a cause, it means that this is a trigger. This is a trigger for the process which will eventually end up in the fructification, which is you realizing that you are one with God. So we need to start. Some form of sadhana is important for us, whatever it is we choose today. So it isn't sufficient that I just go about my life and Swami is a facet of it and I just keep saying Swami is God. and I love Swami. Swami is my mother. Swami is my friend. Swami is my so and so, right? I need to actually I need to sit down. I need to allocate the time. I need to withdraw my resources from everywhere else and invest it in Swami and say, Swami, I'm making a commitment to this and I will do this and I will stick with this. Whatever it is, might be half an hour a week you do it, right? Or 5 to 10 minutes a day you do it. Either read Swami's text or meditate on Swami or sing Swami's bhajan in your own altar, but something that is personal to you. And when we do that, we have a personal connection with Swami. It isn't something that we're waiting to actually do in a group or waiting for somebody else to direct us to do it. Something that we take initiative to do. And that's a conscious choice we are making to do. And that will empower us to make us believe that we have actually sanctified our time with Swami. It's very important. And this is a very key lesson in this whole set of chapters as to what we need to do. This is my personal take on it. And why do we need to do this, right? When we do this kind of effort, oftentimes Swami says Swami has epithet in the Ashtotram. He's a Sulabha Prasannaya Namaha. And it's very easy to please Swami. And Swami himself says, I'm like ice cream. I melt very easily. And there's numerous examples and experiences where Swami is rushed to people. I'm reminded, I've often quoted this example. Uh, it is in the it was in the early 80s. I was nowhere in the scene, but my professors in college were. They've written about this in lots of books as well about this incident. There was a group of 20 or so young kids who were orphans or very poor young lads from the UK, and they were based in London. They were street hawkers, largely, most of them selling newspapers in the center of London. They had nobody to look after them. They were like orphans living off the streets and they were managing on their own, a group of 20 or so. Somehow, somebody talks to them about an existence of somebody called Sai Baba in India, who is God incarnate, who is the mother of all creation, who is the true mother for all humanity. And they're intrigued with this whole idea that there could be somebody somewhere who is their mother. And over a period of some time, they talk about this in their own group, and they are it's divine intervention. They decide that it's very interesting that somebody like this is sitting in India, and we are here thousands of miles apart. Now need to make an effort to go and meet him. And they are poor kids who have nothing in terms of their backup or wealth or savings or anything. So they decide, okay, let us somehow put enough money together. Let's collect enough money together by selling newspapers or hawking things, and we will buy tickets and we'll fly to India and we'll go and see this person. So over the next year or more, or I think the next 5 years or something, they collect enough earnings, just enough to buy a back and forth ticket to India. They have no clue of who Satya Sai Baba is. They know that there's such a person exists. So in the 80s, they managed to buy a ticket. All 20 or so young lads, they buy this ticket and they end up in Bangalore. And from Bangalore, they make their way to Puttaparthi, and there they're sitting. They come to Swami's ashram. They're sitting in the darshan. And they are in the 80s. I think they were influenced by the Beatles. So they were looking like the Beatles. They had the same Beatles hairstyle with their hair dropping right off the bro, and very fashionable. But they are very young kids, in their teenagers, and they were sitting in the darshan hall, the darshan, and there were not much crowd those days. So when Swami came out for darshan, he walks past them and looks at them, and says, "Chick, look at your hair. You look like teddy bears." And then he walks off. He just chides them very not in a harsh way, but in a fun way, and he walks off. But what happens for these 20 odd youngsters is that they suddenly feel like all their dreams and hope is just gone up in smoke. Like it's years of effort of getting money together to fly down to India, and suddenly Swami just passes a very slight comment and walks off. So they are crushed. They are absolutely crushed. So something happens inside of them. They get up after the darshan, they walk out, And they walk straight. They decide to go somewhere. They all walk straight to the village barber, and they get their hair tonsured. They get their hair shaved because Swami chided them. They have never had any other interaction with Swami. This is the first time they see Swami, and Swami has said this, and they decided to do this, something very drastic. So the next darshan, they come and they sit. It's very hard to miss 20 or so freshly shaven heads in a small group. So when Swami comes out for darshan, he sees them and he's shocked. He makes a beeline towards them. And he goes to them and he says, "What did you do? I only told you to cut your hair. I didn't want you to shave your hair." And then one of them says very sweetly, "Swami, we've come all the way from UK. We've put all our life savings. We don't know what will come of our lives when you go back. We don't have anything to go back to. But this is our pivotal point. And when you say you are unhappy with our hair, if this hair is all that stands between you and us, we want nothing of it. And that's why we got rid of all of it." And Swami was so moved that Swami immediately say, "No, come, all of you come," and he takes all of them into interview room. And for the next 1 week, morning and evening, nobody else is called for interview. It's just these kids who are called in for interview. Swami spends hours on end. You can hear laughters, you can hear all kinds of noises from the interview room. And all the devotees on my all my professors and everybody is sitting outside in the darshan saying it's amazing to see how Swami interacted with them. Swami spent one whole week. Swami was a mother, father, friend, everything for this 1 week. And then he got them clothes, he got them more money so that they have something to go back to. And he blessed all of them 1 week later and put them on a plane and sent them back to UK. All it takes is one small gesture from us, and Swami drops everything and rushes to us. And we've seen this in innumerable instances and experience of devotees, where Swami will drop everything and make you feel that you're the center of creation. Nothing else matters. Everything else is inconsequential. Everything, you and your effort is all that matters. And he's waiting. He's waiting for us to make that first move. If we do just make that first move, he will run to us. And all our effort and all the purpose of our existence is to make that move from where we are to to get closer and closer to him till we become one with him. And we have to make a start at somewhere at some point, right? And we are very fortunate. We have heard numerous experience. Even in this instance, we know how. Even the later chapters we hear of how Krishna, what all he goes through to take care of the Pandavas. We hear of how in the middle of the forest he manifests himself to save the Pandavas from the wrath of the sages who were sent by Duryodhana. We in later parts of the story we hear when when the great seer Bhishma has taken a vow to vanquish all the Pandavas, how Krishna strategizes to get Draupadi to go and fall on the feet of Bhishma to get the blessing to be always with her husband, so that the vow is made void. When Krishna sends her in, he says that you have to go in silence. If he knows that you're coming, then he is alerted, so he will not bless you. So you go behind his back and you fall at his feet, so that he says, "Sir, Sumangali Bhava." That means you will live long with your husbands. So in order to ensure that she doesn't make a noise, Krishna says, "You give me your sandals and your anklets, so I'll hold them and you go." So the Lord holds Draupadi's footwear when she sneaks behind Bhishma to go and get his blessing. So he will stoop himself so low to take care of his devotees when they have made him the center of their lives. Even in the last few chapters of this section, you see how he is chosen to be the charioteer of Arjuna. And as a charioteer, Arjuna places his foot at two pedestals at this level, and he presses on the toes of in the toes of Arjuna presses on the brows of Krishna to give him direction as to which direction the chariot must move. And Krishna is willing to go down to that level in order to protect his devotees, in order to honor the fact that the Pandavas have made him the center of their lives. And from our experiences, from the experiences we hear from devotees, we know how much Swami puts himself through to endear himself to us when we make that effort. I don't know whether I have the time to share one more experience before I close. It was the year, I think, 1999, when we were all in Vrindavan, and suddenly Swami had announced that he's going to be in Vrindavan for Christmas, which is after a span of 10 years, he decided to come to Whitefield for Christmas. So we were all overjoyed and we were all sitting there, and Swami had come. And we were having great sessions with Swami on a daily basis. Swami used to give discourses, he would interact and do his darshan, and we were overjoyed that we had this extra round of darshan in the month of December. But suddenly, what happened is Swami sent word to an institute one morning that he's unhappy with the students, and we didn't know why. Suddenly, everybody went into introspection. Swami decided. Swami sent word that he's unhappy with the students and he will not give them darshan or interact with them while being just in a building next to us. So we were distraught and we did all kinds of pujas and bhajans and everything else, hoping that Swami's mind will turn. But it just went worse and worse. Then suddenly one morning he announced that Swami has decided, he's so upset with the boys that he's decided to leave Brindavan in a huff. This is the most disastrous turn of events for us. Um, we can't believe that we are the cause of so much of anguish for Swami that he has to leave us. He has to leave the whole place of Brindavan. So we decided that we all must pile in inside Trai, which is his residence, and we should surround him and we should beg for his forgiveness. We can't stop Swami from going because it is not auspicious, but we will ask of his forgiveness, whatever it is that we have done. So lots of boys, everybody is crying, everybody is like torn, and we are strategizing who should sit where and how we should plead with Swami, and how we need to actually hold on to his feet and never let go till he actually says, "Okay, I accept your apology." So after all of this strategizing, we're sitting there and all the songs are going on, and Swami comes. He throws open the door of his residence. He comes down. He sees the boy sitting there, and instantly his face goes into a scowl. He's so angry. And then after looking at us, he looks up, and there are devotees further away with Aarti place. He looks at them, smiles, and blesses them. Then he looks at us, again scowls. So it was so stark that he's so upset with the boys who are just surrounding him that the scowl was so terrifying that boys were hesitant to even go next to Swami. And as Swami descended the steps, when boys got close to Swami, we've never seen Swami in this form. Swami was so angry, he would catch hold of the boy's hair like this, and lift him up by the head and flick him off. It's surprising. Swami, who is such a frail human figure, can lift boys who are like much taller and heftier than him by the pull of a hair, by the hair. Swami was tossing boys like this, slapping boys left and right, and then looking up the devotees and blessing them. And this was what was happening, and he was moving along, and we were scared to approach Swami. And Swami went up to his car, he blessed all the devotees, turned around and says, "This is the worst set of boys I've seen." And he scolds us, and he gets into his car, and the car speeds away. And then everybody is shaken. We have never had such an instance. Most of the boys are crying. We go back to our hostel. Nothing seems right. We don't feel like having our food. For the next few weeks, most of us go on a fast. There is no games. Nothing seems interesting. And then Swami sends word from Puttaparthi that Brindavan boys, I'm so unhappy with them. I don't want them to come for sports meet, which happens in the following month of January. Just exclude them from this whole thing. It's like every day the news is getting worse and worse. Then eventually message goes to Swami that boys are very distraught. They are fasting for Swami, for Swami's forgiveness. They're doing puja for Swami's forgiveness. All of this. That eventually, over the course of January, or even the course of December and early January, Swami relents and says, "Okay, let them come to Puttaparthi and take part in the sports meet." But then we know what actually happens at the sports meet, when Swami is brought, and in the start of the sports meet, when Swami is brought in a silver chariot, Swami falls on the chariot. There's a jerk, and Swami falls, and Swami hurts his elbow and back in a silver sheet that is like a decoration on the chariot that cuts into his back. And for the rest of the whole program, Swami is bleeding profusely. And then in the following discourse on the 14th, Swami narrates how he tried to avoid this calamity. There was a boy who took part in the sports meet from Brindavan, who was supposed to have crashed from a height and injured his spine, and was supposed to be paralyzed for the rest of his life. And all of this drama that Swami enacted, and the pain and the injury that he inflicted on himself, was to take on this calamity that he couldn't avoid by enacting all of this drama. It just went to show us to what length Swami would go for a single devotee, for a single person who has decided to place him as a center of their lives. Almost every experience of every devotee is an example of this. So I think I will stop with this. Every one of these lessons or every one of these chapters is an example for us. These characters are not just part of a story, but they are examples fashioned for us to relate to and imbibe in our daily life. It is for each one of us to make that effort. We can read through it like a storybook, or we can let each one of it color our emotions and percolate into our lives and meaningfully add to our devotion and our relationship with Swami. And Swami spent, as many speakers would allude to it, Swami spent great efforts in putting this text together only for this purpose. The more we read, the more we get out of it, and the more we connect with Swami. So I'd urge us to spend all our efforts trying to get close to Swami. I would not be as prudent to say that this is the only way to get close to Swami. I think for each one of us, it's different, whether it's meditation, japa, reading a book, or singing bhajans, or doing seva, whatever it is. The most important thing is the connection to Swami. Find what ticks for you and stick with it and let it grow and consume you eventually. The world doesn't have to know your relationship with Swami. The world doesn't need to know how much you invest in this relationship with Swami that you have. It is very personal, but it's very central to your life. So focus on it, give it all the importance that you can humanly give. And then Swami will put in the rest of it. You put in that 1% of effort, and Swami will put in the 99% of the grace, and he'll make it work. So with this, I'll stop. And if there's any questions, we can discuss.
Thank you so much, Pratha. It's indeed a blessing that everything Swami decides, and having you for this session is also his decision, his will, definitely. And we thoroughly enjoyed. More than enjoying, it's like you have opened certain aspects, perceptions of our views on certain things. Thank you so much for that. So the first question that we have is, we also know from the Bhagavatam that we should live in this world. It's our dharma. We should not run away from our duty. So when we see all that is happening in the world, all these worldly affairs, how do we remain not ignorant, but not get overwhelmed? Should we take a stance on these issues and be activists? Or have we gone too far as humankind to be exposed consistently to it?
Yeah, it's very interesting, right? So let's say is it is I don't say we shouldn't take a stance, but let's say if my house is burning and of all my possessions, what do I want to take out and run out to safety? Will I take my son or will I take my laptop or will I take something else, right? We are in a very similar situation. Our house is burning and we have limited time and resources at hand, and we choose what do we want to invest in. Do we want to invest our time, effort, and energy into taking a stance on global issues to which we don't actually can't make much of a difference? Of course, we need to actually stand for something, but imagine instead of actually spending our time and resources on things that will make a difference to our life, and by that means make a difference to the people around us, we invest time onto something else, right? It is a way in which we squander our effort, our limited resources. No one says that you shouldn't choose to be, let's say, choose to be a vegan, or choose to be siding with the Gaza victims, or choose to be something else, right? You can always choose to take a stance, but you need to ask yourself, is it worth me investing my limited time and resources on something in which I don't make much of a difference but add to the noise? And that will, it's a very personal answer, it's a very personal questions. So there cannot be one answer fits all over here. That's my opinion.
Thank you so much. So the second question is, we always say that we Sai devotees are very fortunate and we know about Swami and take him as God. But there are so many other religious organizations like Hare Rama, Swami Narayana devotees who would say the same for their own guru because they believe they were God. So are we equally or more fortunate than them?
Uh, so it might be a very controversial question, but it is not really. Swami often says like God is like a diamond with 1,000 cuts, 1,000 facets. So when light passes through a diamond, it's going to refract in a myriad sets of colors. Each color is a facet of that one source of light. One is no less than the other. So whether you choose to follow one Guruji or whether you choose to follow one God, that's perfectly fine, but stick with it. Swami will say, if you ride a horse, ride that one horse right from the start to the end. Don't try riding two horses at the same time. You will never get to your destination. So for us, we are fortunate that we have Swami. And when you choose to follow a guru, that guru must be all consuming for our spiritual practice to see fructification. So that guru must be the single point of our devotion, of our devotion, everything, discipline. So I can't choose to follow Swami and then I follow another guru, another god somewhere else. It's not wrong. You choose to follow some other god, that's fine, follow. But when you choose to follow Swami, it's stick with Swami, I would say, because there is, as it is, even with a single guru, the progress is very slow and very purposeful. Now, if you choose to diverge, or if you keep jumping from one practice to another practice, or one guru to another practice, you're dissipating your energy, you're dissipating your efforts, which is very difficult asset in the first place to invest in, right? And I am very biased to Swami, so I'll say this. We know from many sources, be it discourse and others, Swami is a Purna avatar. In one interview with a group of people, I think somebody close to Swami asked, Swami, we hear of great sages and saints like I think Ramana Maharishi or Ramakrishna, Sri Ramakrishna, and all of that. They're great sages and everything. Swami smiled and Swami said, like, they're all like this, but Swami is like this. And very nicely, Swami explained. It's a very simple, very down to earth explanation. He said they are all souls that have evolved to be divine. But Swami is God who has descended down to be human, to interact with us. So he is the ultimate source of all divinity, the true Parabrahman, who actually is behind all of the Gurujis in all of the religions. So even if you choose to follow some of the Guruji, you'll eventually get to Swami, right? No doubt, because he is behind all of that. But here you have a chance to follow the single Guruji. Swami explains in many discourses. Very rarely he lets slip that you are very fortunate because you have the Guru of all Gurus as your Guru, the Jagat Guru as your Guru. So you don't have to go to my ministers or my appointed people to actually seek me. You have direct connection with me. So that's why you will hear speakers repeatedly saying Sai devotees are extremely fortunate. It's a very simple sentence that we are very fortunate, but it's got so many layers and so many meanings that we don't realize the good fortune that has befallen us. In order to make good use of this, we have to put in that effort even to understand it, right? And only once you understand our good fortune, just that understanding will make sure that all our efforts will go in the right direction.
Such a beautiful explanation that is. Thank you so much. So the other question that we have is, we know that we are all divine, that the every spark of God resides within us. So if this divinity is so powerful, then how is it that we still go wrong? How does bad karma arise and overpower us when the eternal light of God shines within?
Okay. Whenever this question actually is asked, I think everybody says that you have to go through your own sadhana to discover the answer for it. It's not an excuse, but our evolution is at different levels. We as aspirants are at different levels. Most of us at our current level, we are engaged in the physical world, in the society, in our family, and everything else. So we feel that we are a devotee and there is a God who is external to us, and I have to build devotion for that God, and I have to put my devotion on that God who is an entity external to me, and in order to get closer to that God, right? And when in this current state, we also have the concept of karma, that what I do is either classified as good or bad, and it has its own repercussions, right? And also in this mix, Swami throws in the fact that you have what is called viveka, the sense of discrimination, where you choose, either you choose to decide whether to do something good or bad, and it has a consequence. Now, as long as we live in this current state, we're affected by the karmas and the fruits of these karmas. But if we evolve to a state where we realize that we are one, we truly are the divine spark that is immanent in us, then none of this will matter. It is like a dream that we are in currently. So we would hear many people say, when life is like a dream. As long we are in the dream, we are we're encased by the dictates of this dream. We go through all that the dream dictates as reality. If I face pain, if I face joy, I actually face it fully in the dream, not believing that, oh, it's a dream, I don't feel the pain, right? I go through every bit of it. But when I wake up, having gone through the pain or anything, it's inconsequential. It's just an information. Similarly, as long as I am in this current state, in this worldly state, I am governed by different rules. I'm governed by different things, despite the fact that divinity is immanent in me. But when I do realize that I am the true divinity that is in me, that divinity is waiting for that realization. When I achieve that, none of this karma will bind me. None of this will actually affect me. So there is a journey that we need to make from our current state to that eventual state of oneness. So when you try and say, when that divinity is all knowing, why am I still going through this one? We are talking about laws that govern two different states, and we are trying to mishmash that and ask a question just for the sake of asking. Yeah.
Very intellectual explanation. We need to experience it to understand and practice in our life. Thank you so much. So the next question is, at times we experience a deep sorrow or heaviness that arises without any clear reason. There is no obvious cause, yet the pain feels real and profound. Why does this happen? Could it be a reflection of unsolved karma or deep-seated vasanas carried from previous lives? If you don't mind, can you also explain vasanas as well, please? Yeah, thank you.
I'm no expert. I'm just a parrot. I'm just verbatim repeating what I've read and heard from Swami. So whatever we imbibe or develop as habits in a lifetime contributes to what is called vasanas for us. So, for example, I develop an interest in, let's say, I like laddus, right? I like sweets. That's a vasana that I'm building. I give into it eventually much in my life. That will carry on with me to another lifetime as well. If I love singing bhajans, if I get involved in bhajan, I'm just looking for all opportunities to sing bhajans. That will be another vasana that I'll carry with me. So these are actually these are all I say these are all inclinations that will eventually develop into a facet of our personalities that we carry and will add contribute to what we call as vasanas. Answering the first question, we are affected by innumerable things that we can cognize and things that are beyond our recognition, our comprehension. It's innumerable. there are forces which affect us in so many different ways. We don't know. Um, I'm no expert, and nobody can actually say what is it that you go through as an individual. But despite all of this, what we can achieve is the fact that we can relate to Swami, and when we do, he has an equalizing effect. He has a tranquilizing effect on all that we go through, all the pain and all the happiness and all the stuff. We really don't know what we go through in our life. There could be any number of calamities that are waiting to happen, any number of great things that might happen, but Swami is like this protection that is constantly overseeing our welfare. I'm reminded of this great person called Rama Brahmam, who used to be the caretaker in Vrindavan. At one point, he used to be very close to Swami, and it's a very magical experience where one day Swami decides to go to Puttaparthi, gives instructions to Rama Brahmam that how to take care of the place. And when Swami leaves Vrindavan, and Rama Brahmam is staying alone in Swami's residence, wherever he walks, he hears anklets behind him. And I think it's a very long and elongated story. Eventually, what actually happens is when Ramabam goes to sleep, a demon arises out of him and tries to kill him. And it's like as if out of a movie, out of a picture next to his bed, Swami just appears, and there in front of a sleepy person, there's a battle that ensues between Swami and the demon, and Swami vanquishes the demon, as if it happens in Rama Avatar or Krishna Avatar. And this man is stupefied, right? He is like dumbfounded that he's witnessed something like this. And then Swami blesses him and vanishes. Now, when he wakes up, when he's fully awake the next day, he doesn't know what he has seen, whether it is true or dream or what it is. But then when Swami comes, next interaction with Swami says, you have been, there is a demon that was after you for quite some time. I had to leave your presence to actually seduce the demon to come out of you so that I can engage in a battle and destroy him. So it's a demon. So this is a real demon. We don't know how many demons or how many evil forces are affecting us. But as long as we seek the refuge of the Bhutnath, that's what they call him, right? Who is the lord of all the demons and all the gods and the demons, right? He will take care of everything else. I think that's the only blanket statement that we can say with confidence. Anything else I say will be uninformed or incorrect.
Thank you so much. It's again another beautiful answer. Thank you so much. So we've got two more questions. The next one is, why did Krishna sometimes act mysteriously or break conventional rules? Was he teaching us to transcend social constructs in pursuit of truth and love?
I think in chapter 30 or 32 or something, or 31 or some one of these chapters, there is a conversation between Parikshit and Sage Sukha where they discuss about um, the dignity of the experiences of Gopikas with Krishna, how some people deem it inappropriate, and how Sage Sukha explains that you tend to see God's action in the eyes of human interaction. Right? We are limited. We are constantly looking for causes and reasons as to why people around us behave in a certain fashion. And we tend to take the same objective view to someone who's bound by none of these laws, that is God. So when we say, why did Krishna act like that? Why did Krishna choose to do this? We are trying to see Krishna as a human being. Just because Krishna has descended down in a human form to engage with us, he should not be reasoned and evaluated like another human being. As I mentioned, there are innumerable reasons why God will choose to actually throw away the laws of physics, the laws of nature. He will do it for his devotee. And he's time and again done it, right? And in order to get a message across, to get the importance of establishment of dharma, he will do anything. That is, anything can fly. That's what he says, right? In more appropriate words in Bhagavad Gita. All the laws and all the elements can be done away with for the sake of dharma, for the love of the devotee, and that's all that matters. So it's very important. I think it's a very important lesson for us. So when we see even Swami, it's easy for us to look at him as another human being and judge his actions that way. It's a great sin for us to do that. Just because Swami has taken on himself limitations and descended down as a normal human being, he should not be subjected to the same kind of discrimination as another human being. He's far above that. It's some non-devotee, someone who has nothing to do with Swami can think of something like that because of his ignorance. Not us who have chosen to deem him as our God and as the center of our lives. He needs to be treated that way. We need to think of him that way. We need to speak of him that way, and we need to treat him that way in our minds. Only when we give that kind of importance and religious importance to Swami, will Swami start actually playing an important role in different aspects of our life, in different incidents in our life. Otherwise, we will start seeing Swami as just an insurance. Swami is not just an insurance, right? He is the ultimate God whom we have the great good fortune of knowing and who can, in a jiffy, undo all our problems, undo all our restrictions, undo all our ignorances. It only requires our effort and our start. So if we start looking at Swami that way, Swami will not just start playing a central role in our life, but then all our actions, all our thoughts, all our words will be offered to can be offered to Swami. Only when he thinks Swami is all important can we do that. That's the first step, right? If you don't treat Swami as all important, how can we actually offer all our actions to him? How can we offer all our thoughts to him? Right? So it's imperative that we don't judge Swami as a normal human being or as another thing, or similarly as Krishna as another normal human being.
Thanks again. The last question for the session. So, if God is the source of all love, why do we keep seeking it from the world and feel broken when it fades?
Well, this is ignorance, right? Um, this is what we mentioned that um, God is introduced to us in our life either by our parents or by some turn of events that Swami has willed. Right? Unless that event happens, we seek love, we seek affirmation, we seek confirmation from people and things surrounding us. They are impermanent, but then always, whether we are Sai devotees or whether the worst of sinners, in everybody's life, there will be opportunities for us to evolve. There will come turn of events which will introduce us to something higher, something better. And our success, our chance of getting out of this rut that we are in, is in how we make use of that opportunity. Right? So somehow Swami is introduced into our life. Might be some picture in some altar or some bhajana as I go to as a kid, where I don't care about the bhajana. I'm happy with the group of people I meet and I run around. But then slowly that evolves and evolves, and I make sense out of it. It becomes more meaningful to me. And then eventually, everything else will pale in importance and significance. And Swami will get to be a more all consuming entity in my life. So at that stage, I no longer am affected by the love, by the confirmation, by the validation, by the people around me. I can go through life, I can sail through life. I can put in my effort. I'm not worried about whether I succeed or I fail. I offer this whatever effort I put, I offer to Swami, and I say, Swami, whatever is the outcome, I will take it as a lesson, as your blessing, right? As another step for me to develop. You will make the worst of outcomes for my good. Right? You tell Swami, Swami, you are the architect of the entire universe. When I have sought refuge in you, when you have decided to take me in your fold, then you are crafting every experience or every incident in my life. So when you have chosen to craft everything in my life, whether it is good or bad or painful or happy, I know it is eventually for my good. So that is faith eventually, right? We say, I have faith in Swami, I have surrendered Swami. Those are words. Unless we truly, and that is equanimity as well. Swami says the true hallmark of a devotee is equanimity, how we treat the ups and downs in our life, right? How do we treat ups and downs in our life equal? It's only if we have the truth that everything in our life is decided for us by Swami. Everything is crafted by this one true God. So then I will treat both pain and pleasure as equal, as prasadam from Swami. It takes a lot of effort to get to that, but we have to make baby steps towards it.
Thank you so much. We've got just one more last question, if that's okay. So the question is that the thing with him, I believe, is we need to take the first step, and Swami takes 10 steps towards us. How do we know when to take the second step? It's there in the chat box.
Okay. I think it's a very strong experience, not just of one or two individuals, of everybody. The moment you start putting your efforts, Swami will validate it. Swami will actually send you signs that he has accepted it, he has seen it, he validates your efforts in innumerable ways. It's surprising. The experience is amazing. So it won't be like, I mean, it's not like he will appear in your dream, or Vibhuti is going to appear in your house. It'll be anything. It'll be a bhajan that you love, that you listen to after you put in your effort. It'll be somebody who speaks something that actually resonates or rings a bell in you. We have had students, we had classmates who have done like amazing sadhana very silently. Nobody knows, but one or two of us know the kind of sadhana they do. And suddenly Swami will call them out of the blue. There is no reason. The person will be sitting right at the back behind everybody. Swami will call them front, create a ring for them, and say, okay, I'm taking you to Kodai. Just out of the blue. So Swami has so many different ways to validate it. And those validations doesn't have to mean anything to the neighboring person. So if I go and tell somebody, oh, I heard this bhajan and it was a sign for me, to the other person, it wouldn't seem too dramatic. It doesn't have to, right? The validation is for you, not for the world. So your spiritual progress, whether how many steps you take, how much of effort you put, is yours. I would go to such an extent, we should not even speak about this to the neighboring person. Why speak about it? It's a very personal, private, and special thing that you have with Swami. You make your effort. Swami decides how he relates to you, and he decides how he will respond to you as well. It will not be the way he responds to XYZ. For XYZ, it'll be like Amritam coming out of pictures or Vibhuti coming out of pictures. That's different ways. It need not be that way, but it'll be so special and unique to you that you will feel super validated. You will feel just that validation will draw you the next few steps closer to him. This is my personal feeling. Yeah.
Thank you so much. All your answers and the session is a blessing which Swami gave all of us as a part of Sai Anveshana's, little effort that we put to understand Swami's message. And always he brings us the right speakers to deliver the right topic, and it is all his will, and we are grateful for that to Swami. Thank you, Swami, for that.